More than 6.5 million people have received their first COVID jab. We were talking about that earlier with Dr Hilary. And this morning, we're going inside one of the UK's vaccination centres. We join Kemp, who's been meeting the volunteers, making it all happen.
I've come to Slough, to a vaccination centre, to meet members of the Jab Army. Now, they're a force of volunteers that was set up with the Sun newspaper and the NHS to help an already overburdened NHS. In 18 days, they had 50,000 volunteers. This is the biggest rollout of any vaccine this country has ever seen and hopefully will ever see. These volunteers are taking the strain off NHS workers because they've got more time now to concentrate on the patients themselves, right?
Absolutely. Directing people where they need to go, they're making sure that people are comfortable, and they're making sure that people are wearing masks.
Lead on. Sarah, you're one of the volunteers?
I am.
What made you volunteer?
I just felt that the vaccine rollout was so important and it had to be done quickly, and the more people that volunteer, the quicker we get through the process.
So you're seeing genuine signs of relief when people have had the vaccine?
Yeah, the people are happy. You can see them coming through, looking a bit nervous. By the time they get to here, their shoulders are relaxed and they're happy.
You've just been vaccinated?
Yes.
You know that most of the people that are welcoming you in and organising the flow of people into here are volunteers from the Jab Army.
I didn't know that. Oh, it's marvellous.
Hi, Melissa. Can you just give me an indication of how many vaccines you're administering personally each day?
About 30 vaccines a day with the amount of patients that are coming through. It's really nice to be part of something that everyone's pulling together for, and a privilege to be here.
My mum and dad have been in isolation virtually since February.
Yeah.
The only time they've come out of the house was to get the vaccine. And it's a big shock.
Our local volunteers have really played an important role in the last few days. When the patients come in, reassuring them, and all of us who are here are indebted to their work. Yeah.
Oh, Kemp joins me now. It's so lovely to see you. I love the idea of a jab army. It's a cracking idea from the Sun, isn't it? It's really galvanised everyone.
Yeah, I think they started, I think it was the Royal Voluntary Service went to them to ask for support, and obviously the NHS agreed. They're, as we know, overburdened at the moment. So, yeah, they started the 1st of January, the campaign, and by the 18th, they had 50,000 volunteers. And if you're fit and you're able, you can still volunteer.
It's great, isn't it? It's just such a good idea. For you to go there and actually see it working must have been fantastic when you're actually seeing everyone coming together to make this happen.
Yeah, I think, having filmed during the first kind of lockdown and the first kind of big outbreak in the spring, myself included, I think, this has been a lot harder than one that's happened during the winter as we thought it might be. But you can think about something and then when you actually experience it, it's a very different thing. So, I think it's testament again to the great British public that people are prepared to volunteer themselves, give up their own time to help other people. And it's not just about helping the flow of people through the vaccination centres. It's about offering reassurance. Yeah. My mum and dad, as I said then, they haven't been out of the house really since February. So it's a massive thing for someone in their 80s who's vulnerable to go out of the house, let alone go and meet a set of strangers who are going to give you a vaccination. And, it's been turned around very quickly, this vaccination. Some people are quite nervous about having it, but they know they must have it if we're to defeat this virus. So it's a reassurance. But ultimately, what really got me, Lorraine, it was the kindness that was there. And also the thanks that I saw from the NHS to the volunteers, because, they just probably couldn't cope with it if it wasn't for those volunteers. You couldn't get those many people in and out of a vaccination centre in one day without those volunteers. So they're doing a really important job.
They really are, and you're absolutely right. It's kindness, and right now, we really need that. We really need it. And the reassurance as well. You're so right. I mean, this is invaluable what people are doing. And actually makes you feel better, don't you think? It makes you feel better. Yeah.
One of the ladies said to me, look, I've been furloughed. I'm sitting at home. I get a chance to get out of the house. You know, I'm fit and I'm able, and you know, I can put a smile on someone's face, and that's reciprocal. You know, what you give out, you often get back. So the feeling at the site was absolutely joyous, I have to say, and also gave me a bit of hope. You know, you think the first person that died of COVID was around about the 20th of January in China in 2020. Look how far we've come in 21. How many people sadly have been infected? How many people have died? But also now we hopefully have light at the end of the tunnel with the vaccines.
And I know, and we've got to hold on to that, we really do, because I know COVID, it has affected so many people. It's affected you yourself, it affected you and your wife. How did you deal with that, and how are you and the family doing right now?
Gosh, look, I thank my lucky stars I have a garden. I thank my lucky stars, you know, we've got enough rooms to get away from each other when we need to. I'm very much aware that there are other families that are struggling with that because of where they live. You know, I've lived in a tower block when I was younger, and, you know, going up those stairs was pretty tough when the lifts were broken. But, you know, being trapped in 1 or 2 rooms right now, it's going to be really tough on a single mum with like 2 or 3 kids, you know. So, you know, I'm very much aware of how lucky I am. But that said, I think it's having an effect on all of us. You know, I think this is a far more miserable lockdown than the last one. There's no sun shining, you know, and I think it's a lot harder. And I think a lot of us, including myself, hoped in vain that this would be gone and dusted by Christmas. But, you know, it's not gone away. It's still here. You know, it doesn't go away when we want it to go away. It goes away when science beats it. And we'll just have to wait for that to happen, no matter how painful it may be in the Kemp household occasionally.
No, exactly. And it is difficult for everybody. You know, homeschooling and all of that is tough, you know, when you've got... I mean, I'm sure you found it pretty difficult yourself.
I have newfound respect for teachers, Lorraine. You know, and they're frontline workers and they're doing a fantastic job. You know, I know now that I could never have ever been a teacher. Thankfully, my wife does most of it. But, you know, and also I think it's also me. When I take the dog for a walk, I occasionally bump into neighbours, and at distance, we talk about how their children are doing. And if their children are like, you know, 13, 14, I think they're having it really hard. Yeah. Because they already experienced the freedom. You know, they're teenagers. They should be doing what teenagers do. And, you know, they're being kind of basically shackled to the house. And also, you know, they've got to do their lessons. So, you know, all the work and none of the fun. But again, we've got to be realistic about where we are. This is far from over. And, you know, we hope with the rollout and the success of the rollout that we can get back to some kind of normality as soon as possible.
Exactly, and thank God we've got the vaccine and the jabs army and all of the people who are doing it. I mean, you saw it for yourself, you saw exactly what was going on there and all of the hard work that's being done. Can you imagine a world when we didn't have
Well, without the vaccines and without the hope, I think we'd be in a more desperate situation. And I was saying to a friend on the phone last night, you know, I mean, I've travelled around the world, I've seen outbreaks of cholera in Haiti, you know, awful things. But it's so much different when it happens at home. And I'm just overwhelmingly just pleased to have gone there on Thursday and have seen the effort from the Jabs Army and the volunteers there, and the happiness and the reassurance they were giving to some very vulnerable people.
Exactly. Ross, thank you for doing that and for sharing it with us. It's very, very important. And thank you, of course, to all the Jabs Army as well. And I know that you're going to be back on our screens soon. It's top secret, but when we know, come back and tell us all about it. It's always great to see you.
Lovely to see you too.
Thank you. Thank you so, so much. Don't forget, you can watch full episodes of Lorraine on the ITV Hub and all the best clips, compilations and playlists right here on our channel. Just subscribe now and you'll never miss an upload. Click here to watch another video similar to this one, or click here to head to our channel's homepage to explore all of our exciting videos.